Hello, 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 beloved warriors. Hello. Hello, my loves. Welcome to Transmission Thursdays. We are here. We're in a different location today. We are having power cuts here in Botswana. So my part of the city had a power cut. So I had to visit a friend. So I'm chilling in her house now. And yes, bringing this transmission from a different place and definitely feeling quite different because of this new place. So I feel like today's transmission is going to be really good, right? So say hello when you join in. Let's have some conversation today. I'm just going to share this just now into other spaces, okay, beloved? So do your check-in, you know the drill. Say hello, where you're coming from, how you are feeling today or this whole week, the theme of your week. Let me know. Okay, so let's share first to other parts of the community. The tribe of warriors. Okay. Okay. Hello, Sibongile. Hello, Akona. Yes, a new space today and a new lipstick. Hello, Jenny. Thank you for joining me, beloveds. Okay, so I'm just gonna share again. If you're watching this as a replay, hashtag replay, let us know that you are catching up now. Okay. Danny from Pretoria, Kokezo, Tokozani Waria, Ashe. Yes. Okay, so this is the new month of April. And this new month of April, I am doing a bit of a series on healing. I mean, I know I talk about healing all the time, but I'm going to dive deep a little bit into what I mean by healing, and perhaps we'll also have some live activations because sometimes it's easier to get what we mean when it's a live activation, right? So sometimes we're going to have live activations. This is also just to help you really see what is possible for you if you do join us in the Warrior Mystery School, which is open. We're open for enrollment. And I'm really excited already with all the warriors who are already joining. It's going to be an amazing 1 year together of ancestral and cosmic alchemy. And I don't know, I do feel like sometimes I fail to explain this work that I do. Yesterday, I had a really profound session with the warriors in healing with the divine grandmothers. Yesterday, we're doing covenant work, ancestral covenants. And you may know these covenants, you know, like ancestral contracts, ancestral oath and ancestral vows. And we're breaking those ancestral covenants altogether. I call them covenant work, and it was so profound. And yeah, sometimes I'm like, I feel like I don't break down what I do for people. So this month we're going to do that. And yes, we're gonna have some activations and some healings, definitely. So let's see also what's going to come out today, because today we're doing the quantum inner child healing, and this is one of my favorite works. It's one of the works that I've been doing for a really long time, and I have created my own process of working with the inner child that I absolutely love. And I've taken so many people through the quantum inner child journey. And Yeah, so today we're going to talk about this. And I know that a lot of people here are coaches, so you already know a little bit about inner child. So let's have some conversations about this, and let's expand perhaps our understanding of the inner child and how we can go deeper and more into the quantum aspect of healing the inner child and bridging that gap so that we are not constantly in a healing loop. I know I used to be in a healing loop myself, but it's once I've really started to understand the quantum, I've been able to see just like really beautiful expressions, right? So let's start off with like a little bit of a grounding and connecting actually with this energy of the inner child, right? So let's get comfortable wherever we are. It will just take us like 5 minutes or so, so that we can dive deep into this frequency. Okay, so wherever you are, take a deep breath, that dragon breath. You want to really release out loud, you know, don't be shy. I'm doing it here live on the interwebs. So breathe out, really breathe out, you know, breathe in, breathe. And as you are breathing in, becoming aware of your body, your physical body, almost as if you're tuning in and you're looking at yourself like, oh, this is my physical body. And come to where your heart center is. And you may hold with your right hand the heart center and the left hand where your sacral center is, that womb center. And as you come to this awareness of your beating heart, the awareness of your physical body, the womb, this creation portals within you, I want you to connect with the part of you that is innocent, this divine aspect of you that is pure. And in your mind, you may even begin to see yourself traveling back in time to the times when you were innocent, when you were pure, when you saw the world with the eyes of the divine. And just remember that part of you. You may even observe how old you are in that moment when you were innocent, when you felt truly connected to the divine, to the earth, before all that has happened, that is your life, happened. And you knew in your being that you are a child of God, that you were created by something so unbelievably intelligent, and that essence that has created you loves you. And I want you to begin to feel that feeling of innocence, of play, of joy, of purity, of love that you have as a young girl, a young boy. The way that you walk in the world, in the earth, the connection you feel within your heart to yourself, to your beloveds, your mother, your father, your grandma, your grandfather, your siblings, your friends, that deep love. And I want you to generate that, not so much generate, but remember it and be it. And I want you to see how you move in the world, what you believe about the world, about yourself, how you spend the days, the hours, what you do that makes you feel so alive. And just breathe in all that energy, that joy, that play, that innocence, that purity, that love. and know that that is your divine child that you are meeting, that you are feeling right now in your body, and you can even feel the energy in your body changing, this quickening of love frequency in your being, of innocence, of play, of tenderness, of softness, of the divine. And breathe that in and feel how alive this energy is and how it just quickly took us such a short time to connect to. That is your divine child. It is alive within you. And in this space, all the concepts do not matter. The only thing that matters is your aliveness, your innocence, your purity, your love for yourself and for the world, and how you enjoy being this human child in this beautiful planet, and how you are exploring it, expressing yourself in it, and just trusting that you are here and you're meant to be here, and all is divinely orchestrated by something beyond you, but there's something that is within you that is also you. That is the spark. So I want you to just allow that energy to just move through the entire body right now, that love, that frequency of love of your divine being. And almost as if you're being kissed by this energy. Good. And we're just gonna swim in this energy. We're gonna take a deep breath and radiate that love everywhere. Yes, our divine essence, our divine child who is here. Welcome, divine one, Ashe. And you may open your eyes now. Yay. Welcome back, divine one. Today I want to speak to your divine child, not your adult who has all the answers, but the divine essence that is you. Yes. How are you feeling? Let me know. How was this experience of connecting with your divinity? Right? It was just 5 minutes of us feeling into that. You know, so let's share. Allow your divine child to share what it's like to come back. She or he may have not been here for some time. You may have suppressed her or him, may have locked her or him somewhere in the deep, deep aspect of yourself. And you may have forgotten that she is simply there, and all it takes is the closing of the eyes and going within, right? Yes, that was beautiful. I felt it. I loved it too as well. Yeah. So when we come into healing, sometimes it feels like we're coming into healing to just bring all the pain. And there's definitely a part of it that's there. There's definitely a part of it where we are meant to process the experiences that we did have after this moment that we just witnessed. But I truly believe that we need to always remember this moment that we just activated, you know, that time. Let me know, how old were you in the journey? How old were you? And when you were looking at yourself, what were you doing? What was your life like when you were still retaining your divinity, when you were still working from your divine child? Yes, yes, definitely. Thank you, beloveds, for sharing. So let me know how old you were. It's always so important to notice the age that you were and what you were doing. So for me, what came up was, I think I was 3 years old and I was running after these white butterflies, and I was with my grandmother, and my grandmother was somewhere doing some clothes, putting them in the washing line. And I was just chasing these butterflies that came after she poured the water. And I was also playing under the sun. I used to do this a lot, and people know the story of how my grandmother used to chase me away from the sun, because I love to just lay in the middle of the yard and just let the sun hit me, you know. And my grandmother always said, come home, like come to the where it's not sunny. And I refused. And she will literally have to chase me because I just wanted to nap in the middle of the yard, but it was literally where I just believed that the sun is my friend, the butterflies are my friends, and literally just being somewhere where my grandmother is felt like the most safest place for me in the world. I was raised by my grandmother, so it was really, really beautiful. Like that life, I remember it. And I just realized, oh my God, it's been a while since I've seen white butterflies. I've seen some, but like the white ones that tend to come after you do your clothes. Remember those butterflies? Do they still come? I don't remember. But yeah, that's where I went. And yeah, so I was like 3, 5. I was very aware though. So probably 3, 5 years old. And yeah, just playing and being around this wisdom of my grandmother, who was like taking care of everything, and all I was required to do was to be a child, you know. Yeah. So yes, everyone is sharing how, yes, the age of 3 is like a big number for people here, 3 and 7. And there's a lot of being in the outside, right? Being in the outside, laughing out loud, walking barefoot in the earth, connected to the earth, being topless, which is like symbolic of freedom, running all the time. I was always also running, especially from my grandmother. I thought it was hilarious. It wasn't even like she's coming to punish me, but it was just this cute thing that we had with my grandmother. So I definitely remember running. But one of the things about the divine child is that she's pretty connected to what I also call the nature child. The nature child loves to play. She loves, to be in the earth. She loves running around. She loves the rain. She just loves all these natural things that are so simple, and just being in her natural state, and when we do inner child work, and this is so easy to forget, what we're doing, we are returning to that innocence. We're returning to that purity, right? That's what we are reclaiming. In the experiences we later have, the reason why you find that your inner child is between 3 and 7 is because she begins to go within more and more the moment we start going to school. When we start being really programmed, where we're told you can't come to school without your shoes, you have to put your shoes on, you have to come at this time and leave at this time. So for most people, we started school at 6, 7. So that's when the inner child, by the time you're 8 years old, the inner child completely understands now that there are two worlds. There's this physical world with the rules. And at that 8, we make decisions, for most of us, to now completely be part of the program, part of like the rules. And we slowly lose our innocence and our purity, this beautiful way of coming into the world with, that naivety and excitement and exploration. By 8 years old, we are now completely becoming programmed into the rules, into the yeah, a lot of the things I speak about, these programs that I always speak about that we have in our consciousness, they are, yeah, they completely settle in, and we separate from the spiritual world, the mystical world, the magical world that we used to access when we were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Oh, yes, I love that. Yeah. So that's what you will find, that by 8 years old, for most of us, we are now, like, if you were this bubbly person, you may start to feel not safe to be bubbly anymore, not safe to express yourself. And at this point, we begin to really feel the imprint of anything that is not divine, the imprints of pain, the imprints of judgment, of fear. They really affect us. We are at a level in which we are conscious to record them as our memories, right? This is why, though, when you try to think about what happened to, like, on a daily basis when you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you don't really remember much about that, but you remember the magical moments, the running around, the exciting things, right? We were not recording so much when we were that young. We were still very much in the mystical, and we understood the quantum, and we existed in the quantum such that we don't really know that this is a Monday or a Thursday. We're just existing, and all we wanted was love from our primary caregivers and play. That's it. So when we do inner child work, I tell my the people that I work with, the warriors that I work with, that I am a deeply committed advocate for the inner child. I am interested in the voice of that 3-year-old, the 5-year-old, the 6-year-old within you. And I will defend that child over your adult voice. And that is what makes me, maybe perhaps, like, I'm so firm, and I do not allow, like, the adult to control the conversation when we are in the healing space or repairing, because the true speaker, the one who has not spoken, the one who is hurting, is that divine child, because she was so suppressed, or he was so suppressed by all these rules. The moment we went to school, we forgot them. And now we grow as adults who seek the inner child. And we seek the inner child in our partners, in our work. We are really truly seeking innocence. And we're seeking purity. We're seeking play and joy. We're seeking to be enchanted the way we were enchanted by life when we were young. And we sometimes feel this depression, this overwhelm, this anxiety, because this is not in our life. We are not seeing the purity, the innocence of ourselves. We're not seeing the enchantment of our lives because of the news, what we listen to every day, what has happened to this person, what has happened to us. Those experiences that were so traumatic, they begin to become this big story that we begin to identify so much with, that we end up even just embodying that story, that victimhood, that survivor frequency. And we celebrate ourselves for all the things we went through, that we survived deeply. We understand that we've been through a lot, but what's important is to not allow this to become the story of who you are. What's important is for you, despite all that has happened, to remember this divinity within you. And I know it's so easy when we speak about divinity for it to feel like it's this etherical concept, but your divinity is as simple as you playing, running around, with your barefoot, so happy to wake up every day, to go drink tea with your grandmother or your mom or whoever, and to go play with your friends. That is the divine. The divine is a player. The divine is so excited to be here to explore life. and the divine has this desire for newness, for new things. The divine doesn't think that it has experienced everything that is to be experienced. So it keeps trusting on tomorrow, on the future, that's something new. I will discover something about myself, right? So I want to say this to all of us who are here on the healing journey, that let us not forget why we're in the healing journey. We're in the healing journey to reclaim this, our innocence and our purity. And when we're doing inner child work, that's what we are returning ourselves to, right? There's this tendency in our healing community, the many different healing communities that exist, where we do shadow work. We enter and we learn about shadow work, and we learn about the inner child and the 4 aspects of the inner child. The wounded aspect of the inner child. We learn about the victim child, you know, the one who everything has happened to, and she just doesn't think that she has any power. We learn about the inner child, the prostitute, the part of you that's constantly just giving away your time, your energy, your chi, your life force to people, to the world. You're constantly selling yourself, right? And not even getting back what you have been selling, whether it's your time, your gifts. You're not getting the same frequency. That will be the prostitute child. But the biggest child that we need to also talk about is the saboteur, right? We want to talk about the saboteur because this is the saboteur, prostitute, victim child, even the wounded child. They are not your divine child. They are the fragmented divine child. They come through after you forgot your divinity, after life experiences made you begin to create new stories about who you are. And these stories were not true. Stories like, I'm not good enough because the other girls didn't pick me to play with them, so I'm not good enough, right? And then you hold on to this story for the rest of your life over that one event. Of course, there will be other subsequent events, but you take these events that other players, other people, you know, co-created with you, and then you make them the meaning of who you are, and you live your life with these stories. And if you've ever had a conversation maybe with your mother and your father, and you tell them about a moment where they really hurt you, and they're so surprised because they don't remember it, but you do remember it yourself. We then live our entire life on this saboteur. The saboteur is the opposite of the mystic, which most of you here are. You can't be existing from the saboteur child because the saboteur is afraid of change. And they will sabotage you out of healing. They will sabotage you out of creating wealth for yourself. They will sabotage you out of love, out of pursuing that deep dream that you've been having for so many years now, right? That will be the saboteur. And the saboteur, I mean, all the other elements are really important, but I want to speak mostly about the saboteur because we need to talk about how so many of us, we are not willing to jump and leap into our healing. We're not willing to jump and leap to the reclaiming of our innocence and our purity, because there's a part of us that is collapsed and that is hoping that someone will one day bring this to us. They will bring that aspect of us that was dancing under the sun and running around with grandma and whoever you're playing with, right? But no one really can do that. And it's important to realize that it's these stories that are running, that come from all these experiences that you've had since your primary school days to this moment, that have been creating this untruth. It's not true. That's why we call it a shadow. you know how the shadow behind you doesn't exist. All you have to do is put light on it and then it disappears. That's why we call it shadow work. But as we call it shadow work, for me, I think it's important that as a collective, as a group, as young people here in Africa from all around the world, we move away from these stories, these shadows, and realize that they were never true. And there's a level in which we do process these emotions that come when you realize, actually, it was never true that I'm not good enough. You allow yourself to move through that. But you have to drop the story completely. Because if you don't drop the story, what we're going to see happening is this perpetual healing loop in which, let's say you have the story of I'm not good enough, where there's the memory when you were 8 years old, when you were 12 years old, when you were 17. What about, oh my God, I just remembered when I was 7 that this moment also happened. So then you are running on this constantly your entire life, trying to heal something that was never true about yourself, that has allowed itself to be imprinted in your psyche. And then you're now constantly battling this untruth within you, right? So when we start now understanding that it's also important for us to loosen the charge around these stories that happen to us, and we realize that there are experiences that we moved through in our human experience, that experiences that we were exploring, they may not have been as fun as running around with grandma, but they were part of the journey of exploring our divinity, even if it meant that the exploring of our divinity was experiencing something that is anti-divine, anti our divinity. Oh, why is it frozen? It looks like it's working from my side, but it's frozen from your side. Let me know if you can hear me. I don't know why it's not working as I would like. Okay, so you can hear me clearly, but you can't see me. That's a bummer. I don't know why. But if you can hear me, we shall continue. Okay. So the reason why I am talking about how it's important to also not be so attached, and I know this is like something that may feel like it's a bypassing, but I say this because when we go deeper into the origins of the stories that we hold about ourselves, a lot of these origins are something beyond ourselves. The program of not being good enough is a program that goes beyond ourselves. It's something that has already existed with our ancestors, with our soul experiences. Okay, great. Everyone can hear me though. I don't know why it's frozen. That really sucks. But if you can hear me, we will continue. It's like a podcast. Okay. So yes, when we start going into the quantum, we are interested in reclaiming our full innocence. Okay, great. Our full innocence is we're interested in returning to the purity and to the divinity. And this process of returning to the divinity, in actual fact, when we come into the quantum and when I go into the field, what we're actually really doing is filling your whole body with the Holy Spirit, with the Holy Mother Ark and the Holy Father Ark, Because what has happened each time we went through a traumatic experience, we lost our life force, our connection to our divinity, our connection to the Godhead, and we started to believe more and more into the lower stories of ourselves and the experiences that were happening. When as creators, as creations of God, we were not meant to be so attached to the storyline. Because how can we be attached to the storyline when we are eternal beings, when we exist through all of eternity? Because if we are attached to this one event that happened to you when you were 7 years old, and you use the story to define your experience as a divine child, you limit so much of your true potential. And your true potential goes beyond what anyone has ever said to you, including your parents. Your true potential is the promise, is the permanent seed that was and is existing in your heart, that was given to you by your creator. And that essence is made up of innocence and purity and creation codes. And these creation codes are what you're meant to use to create your life. And when you look in your life and you realize that my life is not a life of play, of joy, my life is not a place, a space, a garden of purity, of innocence, of love anymore. What has actually really happened is that you have lost your connection to the Holy Spirit, to that Holy Trinity. This is not even like a religious concept, you know, it's actually your true essence, you know. That inner child, when she was playing around or he was playing around, they were imbued with the Holy Spirit and they were in alignment with the frequency of the earth. They knew that they were here to play. They didn't think about tomorrow and worry about tomorrow. They truly were in the moment of now. And by being in the moment of now, that allowed them to exist within the frequency of the Godhead. And that's why we can't seem to remember the exact activities that happen every day, because at some level, we were just actually in the quantum. All of reality existed all at once, but we chose to wake up, go and drink tea with grandma, play, go to school. At 3 years, there was no going to school. We're just playing, sleep, eat, and repeat. And while now we're not really like sleeping all day and so on, the truth is that our jobs, the jobs that we do in life, they were meant to still be an expansion, an extension of play, joy, innocence, purity, creation, because that is the true frequency of your inner child. And when we say we're healing your inner child, we're saying that you have forgotten to exist like this. So for us to heal the inner child is to claim back this. So if we're spending a lot of the time on the wounded stories and trying to fix the wounded stories, it's like counterproductive at some level, right? It is important to definitely honor the experiences that you went through. What is important, however, is to know what you are doing when you say you are healing. It is not to stay in the stories. It is to imbue back life into those moments. It's to imbue the Holy Spirit, the Holy Trinity back into that moment when you felt so disconnected from God, from love, from support, from safety. That's what we're doing. Right. So a lot of the time when we come to inner child work, we come with the mind and we come with the idea that we ourselves are the ones fixing the inner child. First of all, there's nothing to fix. There's nothing to fix. There's only to remember. And how do we remember? We remember through the process of going back to the mind of God that created us. And when we are back in the mind of God, we then begin to see ourselves with clarity again. And when we see ourselves with clarity, in that moment, within the mind of God, the idea that you're not good enough, the idea that you're not beautiful, that you're not lovely, that you're not ready, that you're not qualified will definitely seem crazy to you, ridiculous. Because how can something that was so beautifully sculpted by the most unthinkable intelligence ever be thought of as not being good enough? So when we are in the mind of God, which is what we call the quantum, we truly see ourselves as we are. And the idea is when we come out of the quantum, we must continue with seeing ourselves in that same way. Right? In the quantum, we're able to collapse what these moments, these stories where we believed the anti-divine aspects, stories. In the quantum, we don't really have to heal every single story. What we need to heal is the overlaying program that has made you to believe when you were 3, 7, 12, 15, 17, 23, 40, that program that is overlaying all of that, which we may call the not good enough program, that is what we collapse. And when we collapse it in the mind of God, it is erased in time. It will not exist in time. And so moving forward, you can hold in your, it will be literally impossible for you to continue to believe that you're not good enough. Right? So when we are doing quantum healing, we can't do quantum healing with our mind. We have to do it with the mind of God. We have to do it within the sanctity of the Holy Spirit, the Holy Mother, within the divine architectures, which are the very thing that we are existing outside of when we call ourselves wounded. And when we're looking into a shadow, that shadow is devoid of the divine architecture. So you are there trying to fix something that is not, that's an illusion. The idea that you're not enough, it's an illusion. It never existed. God looks at you and thinks, what is my child doing there? Like, that's not what I created my child to do. As my child was meant to play and enjoy and explore and create and be enchanted by the creation, right? So all this, I am a number one advocate of feeling your emotions. And I will never, ever say, don't feel your emotions. I believe in emotional clearing. I believe in when this will always happen, not always, in your journey, especially if you're beginning your journey, you will feel these deep emotions of grief, of sadness, of disappointment, all the emotions you could think of. And these, at the core of them, they're just all symptoms of disconnection from the divine. That's why I teach divinity. And that's why I realize in my work as someone who's been doing healing since really when I was a psychology student in 2009 to this moment, so almost 11 years. Learning about this. What has always been missing in modern psychology and a little bit of in modern also coaching practices is the resurrection, the anchoring of divine architectures. If we do not resurrect them, we're using the very mind that has been corrupted by pain and the forces and the structures and the systems of our world that are devoid most of the time of the divine, which is so strange. How can we be divine beings and then go to education systems that do not see that, environments that do not see that, and we expect ourselves to be okay? And then when we try to heal, we want to do the same exact thing. We want to approach it with the mind, our mind, the mind that currently has the stories. We will be in a loop. I don't know. Oh, can you hear me now or it's still frozen? Oh, yeah. But anyway, let me know if you can hear me and let me know your thoughts around what I am saying, if that makes sense to you, that when we begin to do the quantum is literally about retaining the divine architecture. Your divine child it's a living architecture. It's inside you. When we started today, we started with that activation, and you saw how it quickly just came up. And we don't need to do those activations every day. What we need to do is to rebuild how we see ourselves, how we perceive ourselves, right? Oh, I have no idea if y'all can hear me. Yo. Can you hear me now? Let me know. So what if instead of healing the illusions, we remember the truth, right? What if we did that? Like, what if we don't always have to go to the negative? And not that there's nothing wrong with the negative. It's important to remember the negative. It's important to remember the stories of your life. But when you are in the process of healing, what if another aspect of it, a huge part of it, is to remember your divinity, to remember the truth of who you are, to practice, to re-begin the process of practicing your truth and resurrecting the divine. And resurrecting the divine is not a religious concept. It is a very personal concept that you will have to do by yourself. Of course, you can be guided, and I love guiding people to this process. And in the guidance, I can tell you, when you do quantum inner child healing with me, we are gonna cry. And I say we're gonna cry because I cry in every single session of mine, because it's what we go through is devastating. But I also cry because I see the beauty of what it's like to reconnect with your divinity and to see the beginning, the budding of that. It's such a pleasure. I can do really high level healing at this level, but I still love the inner child. It's like a favorite thing of life. Yeah. Yes. So cultivating more of the remembrance of your divinity, of your eternality, your eternal beingness, and imbuing yourself. I spend so much of my time now. Like, I grew up hearing the concept of the Holy Spirit, and I didn't really understand what is being spoken by that. But now I cultivate, like, I ask the Holy Spirit to come and warm my heart, and I find myself more joyful and more playful and more enchanted with life and more excited. And then there are days where I need to sit and feel my emotions, but I also see the power of the other, of retrieving and reclaiming innocence and purity as well, not forgetting that part. Yes. So I do a lot of, like, the mystery school is literally one of my very intentional container of resurrecting the divine. It is for us to remember our innocence, and it's a mystical program. We remember the mysteries of our origins, where we come from as humanity, but we also simply remember how simple it is to be a divine being, and how that already as a human, you are an angelic being, and yes, there are processes that help us to remember this. We begin to move along the dimensions and anchor our higher self, and go all the way to the 12th dimension, 13th dimension, and work with those frequencies. But we're not working with foreign frequencies. We're working essentially with ourselves in the highest levels, within our divinity, Yes. Okay. So in regards, let me read this question. In regards to the shadows not being real, that confuses me because I understand the shadows to not be necessarily always the negative aspects of self, but to also be aspects of self that were muted or shut down. Definitely. However, like people, when they actually, the origin of the word shadow was by Carl Jung. And Carl Jung defined the shadow as the part of you that you have hidden, that you have rejected, that you have abandoned, right? And usually these are the parts of you that that are holding some of these emotions that we are so terrified to own, that are holding anger, that are holding jealousy, bitterness, the part of you that sometimes make you do something that you're not proud of. Another word for the shadow is the sinful self, the part of you that sins. But I was explaining this yesterday to the grandmother warriors that the sin is actually to be disconnected from God. When you are sinning, as it's been taught to us, you are missing the mark. You are disconnected. In that moment, you have forgotten that you are a divine being, and whatever action you are taking is outside your remembrance of your divinity, right? So the shadow is essentially something that is within you that you may have pretended that it's not there, but it's there. But I want to say this, the origin of the shadows, that is not organic. We were not created in the beginning to cheat, to kill, to hurt each other in the ways that we currently do in the human race. That is not human nature, as we may have been taught. There are truth and origins of those behaviors within ourselves. This is why I say that illusions, because they are programs. We were taught to act this way, but it is not our divine truth. There is no child, that child that you saw, the 3-year-olds will never ever hurt another being because they understand how connected that they are. Whatever it is that started to make us do all these other actions that we have done, every single one of us, we've done actions that we're not proud of. We have shouted at our loved ones. We've taken actions that we're not happy with, right? And some of those actions, they were perpetuated by something that our parents did that made us feel like this is how we're meant to act and create. And these are the decisions we're meant to take and create. But we have to pull the entire veil. This is why for me in the mystery school, I break down the origins of what we call nature, the origins of behavior and cognition, because if you don't know the origins of that, you're going to spend the rest of your life believing that you are the true source of all of your creation, that you created all that pain. Our ancestors created all that pain. No, they are actually anti-human forces that created that. And that is what we need to remember to come out of, so that we don't spend the rest of our lives being inside the matrix and trying to survive the matrix. We have to come out of it and see the overlayers, like see how the programs were created and how they're running in us. Yes, a shadow is something that is real because it's within you, it's running within you. It is not real in the sense that you did not start that shadow, nor did your parents, nor did your mother, your father, or your ancestors. They didn't start it. So what started this pain that we see in our world, this suffering? If we don't have conversations about that, we're going to keep blaming ourselves and our parents, and we can never truly transcend and transmute and heal if we don't know the true story. The story of humanity is a story of divinity, and how divinity has been disconnected. We've been disconnected from it. And to reclaim that disconnection, you must know the story of divinity, not the story of your life. I mean, the story of your life, you know it, but I need you to understand the story of your life is only such a small story. And if you can't ever really understand the story of your life fully, if you don't understand the story of our planet and our existence, right? Hence why, we need to do this process of remembering divinity, all of divinity and the story of divinity, which is the story of us as humanity. And it's like sometimes like we move away from our personal self to the collective to heal the personal self. That's the beauty of it. Yeah. Okay, so yes. Yes, Shanisa, it's quite challenging. It is not like all completely beautiful, enchanting journey to awaken and to confront all the other things that seem to not be in alignment with our true self. Yes. Yes, so the goal is to acknowledge, witness humanity's shadows, definitely, as well as in the ways that they move within us, integrate them. Yes, integrate them, but at a higher level. Yeah, okay, let me not confuse you all. At a higher level, I don't think we need to truly accept them. And I think this is, I'm honestly speaking from a really high level right now, and we're gonna break this down. As you all know, I'm gonna do a 3-day series in May. So we're gonna hang out, and I think I will break this even more deeply in there. So for now, I just believe, yes, we must witness, acknowledge, integrate those shadows that are truly ours, our own personal shadows, but not every shadow is ours. Not every shadow comes from us or our ancestor. Some shadows are foreign, inorganic, and we just need to drop them, refuse to engage with them, right? So I will explain what I mean by this. In May, when we do our 3-day series, we're gonna hang out like we did in February. But also, if you really want to understand what I mean by this, Warrior Mystery School is the place to be. It's really my in-depth 1-year process where I break down all these things and take you on a healing journey in a way that is really, in terms of like the investment, it's my most affordable investment, but I give so much in this container because I want to help us truly heal. And that healing is that reclamation of innocence and purity and so on. Right, so check out the Warrior Mystery School page, read about it, look at the investment, and register if it's in resonance with you. If you come here, it's in resonance with you. There isn't really actually much. You just have to decide whether you want to do this finally, or you're going to allow the saboteur to continue to, to literally run your life. It's as simple as that. I'm no longer available for the story that I can afford it. You can afford it if you want to afford it, truly. And it's about prioritizing your true healing. And this is it. This is the most affordable thing you can ever find from my work. And listening to me in these live streams, it's really profound, it's powerful. But I want us to now finally do the resurrection properly. Anchor these divine architectures I'm always talking about. So yes, that's it. Let me know what spoke to you today. This was a little bit of what quantum inner child healing is, which essentially is the return of the Holy Mother, the Holy Father arc within you, which looks like returning the Holy Spirit, Sophia Nala, and restoring Christos energy inside you, your cosmic Christ essence coming back to yourself. Yes, that's it, beloved. Thank you so much. I know that I am frozen. Yes, the network wasn't so great here, but I hope you could hear me. Let me know what spoke to you and check out Warrior Mystery School. Next week is going to be, I would like to do a longer activation because we're doing ancestral miasma. So instead of talking about it, we're going to do actually a live healing of our ancestors. So come and let's have some fun next week. Okay, bye, beloveds. Yay.